Well, we're back halfway through the summer today. You might be asking why. We'll have a reflection on what's happening at Viborg, but there's some big other news, and I'm going to need your help, potentially. Let's go and see why. Yes, hello and welcome along to part 18 of Rebuilding Viborg with me, Daniel. We're here in our second stint in Scandinavia following our time with Helsingborg. But could the second stint be potentially coming to an end? I'm loving managing Viborg and the plan is to rebuild them to the top. But I've always been someone in Football Manager that has to consider realistic opportunities. So as we move into today's episode, you're going to understand why I'm saying that. And you might need to help me by the end of it. So we are going to have a look at firstly what's been happening so far here this summer with Viborg, because it's actually been a pretty productive summer so far. Lots of good transfers coming in or loans, lots of players out the squad who we didn't potentially need, and overall I feel we're improving. However, that all might stop because we have got a potentially big opportunity. And it's not something I've instigated myself. So if you're looking forward to seeing what it is, then please do put a thumbs up on the video and subscribe down below for daily FM22 content. Perhaps not ideal as a video for the day where Viborg are coming to play West Ham in England in real life in the Europa Conference qualifier. I will be doing a live watch along tonight on Twitch at 7:45 of that game. Please do come and join us for the chat because it's an English side against Viborg, my FM side. I can't wait for it. So I hope to see you there. But we might end this episode by saying we might be saying goodbye to Viborg, so potentially I'm letting them down a bit here. All the other key playlists and links are up in the eye above or description below, and thank you as always for your incredible support. But let's start with Viborg, because things are going well here this summer. You can see from the finances, we've managed to get the club sort of back into a manageable situation. The debt's going sideways and that way a bit, rather than down and plummeting again. But of course, over the length of the next season, we'd expect that to get worse again. So we are going to have to be careful in how we manage it. But one of the things I am pleased with is the way we've improved our side. Because we had one player coming in already, which somehow the board are disappointed with. But we've also been able to make some potentially great additions. And there are some I'm waiting on, and it might help make my decision, because if we can get key targets in, we're going to be a cracking side. So let's start with the transfers so far, with 2 weeks to go until the first day of the season. If we have a look at what's happened in the transfer window, we've got a couple of players getting big offers. Nicholas Jensen is one of them. I wonder if we're going to have him at the end of the window. It's a very good player, and he's going to carry on getting interest. So I completely understand if he wants to go. But if we have a look at the history so far, there's been a few bits of movement at this club. So first things first, at the end of last season, a couple of players came in on free deals. So Ollie Madsen was one that was in our youth intake, but we didn't quite get over the line. He then comes in and joins. Nothing big there. The second one is the man we'd pre-agreed, that the board are inexplicably unhappy at £32,000. Flavio Sampaio is as good, if not slightly better than Jurchen Rothman, is as good, if not slightly better than David Palmer on the right wing. I don't get what they're complaining about. He's a fabulous player. Great personality, amazing physically. He's 6 foot, he's powerful, he's got a good finish. If we can get the composure up, if we can get him working a little harder, I think we might have a gem. But one of the things I do know, we're going to make at least a 1000% profit on him. So there shouldn't be any complaints from the board at all. But he's the first man into the club. We knew about him. Since then, there's been one more in and one more out, and it's literally a straight swap. Costa Manev has left the club for £11,000 to Vincenza. There were a couple of other offers that were slightly bigger, but they were domestic clubs, and I didn't want to improve our rivals at this stage. So Manev has gone off to Italy. The Macedonian international played a few games for us, did okay, but we're not going to miss him that much. With Lauritsen and him past 30 and declining, I had to make a decision. One stays as a backup, the other one leaves. Manev was the man to go. He's replaced by, I couldn't get a first teamer. I couldn't get someone who was just brilliant and a class above. So I've replaced him with someone that's just as good, who will hopefully get a lot better with regular football. And that man is Jan Schroeder. He comes in on a free transfer, having been in the Eintracht Frankfurt Academy, played one senior league game for them. And you can see defensively he's actually very good. He's quite versatile, can play centre mid, can play right back. he can do a job for us if we need to use different shapes. Has signed a 2-year deal, again someone we might be able to make a profit on. But more importantly, I feel he's got the cause to be a really good player. If we can get every attribute up by 1, for example, you're going to have a player who's decent crossing the ball, decent passing the ball, not bad in the air at 6 foot, an exceptional tackler and very solid physically. Mentally he's okay. I'd like slightly better positioning and composure, but they'll get worked on in his current role. I just really think of what we could get and the other players that were coming up, certainly the other players that were coming up under the age of 30, this is the one where we future-proof the club. And given the financial position that's still there and having missed out on Europe and the Cup win last year, we do have to think about which player comes in and makes us 500,000 or $1 million down the line. And this guy is the one that ticks that box. So in he comes, the versatility is a bonus. I like him. It could, though, get very big. Because in addition to what we've done there, we have been able to extend the loans of both Toxvard and of David Palmer, who has now signed a new deal with Copenhagen, which allowed us to get him for another full year. We're not paying massive wages if they're first teamers, which they both will be at the moment. We've got a slight negative in that Magnus Karstrup wants to leave the club. He's desperate to get out, and as a result we've transfer listed him, said he's going to leave on a free if we don't sell him. So that basically ties our hands. It's exactly what he did to Lingby, wasn't it? So we can't be surprised. The man I'm trying to get in as his replacement is the man currently on trial, Marius Elvius. He's going to want $3,000 a week, but I think he'll probably be worth it because he is a very good winger who's natural up front, natural in centre midfield or accomplished. He is a proper versatile player and he's a step up. If you look at him and then compare him directly to Karstrup, we're talking about a better rounded player and someone who can play in more positions and give us that centre mid option that we didn't have last year. Add to that then that we've got Bernston back from his loan, and he did improve a little bit out there, certainly helped him, gives us another option going forward from midfield, and I feel we're pretty well rounded as a squad without breaking the bank completely. However, there is one signing that will transform our season and maybe transform the long-term success of this save, but it leaves me with a little bit of a dilemma given what else is going on in today's episode. Let me show you what I mean. If we go to the pending transfers in, we have offered a contract to Daniel Harbo, who goes out a contract at Copenhagen at the end of the calendar year, has been on loan with us for 2 seasons, has got better and better, pops up with some of the most important goals that we've had in this save, and he's on a reasonable wage. But he's just had an offer from another club, and the other club is a decent side, we've got to be fair. A Belgian top tier team, someone who will be expecting to do well this year. I wonder if he's going to choose to go there. They've got a Danish manager as well. Maybe someone he knows. I hope not. You can see there how many clubs are after him. The 2 that are covered by my head, Randers and Udinese. He is going to have loads of options. So we have to try and get him. Please, if anything happens, please let this get over the line. But the reason it might end up being counterproductive is if we go and look at the inbox. Because on the 6th of July, we have randomly out of the blue been offered 2 job interviews and we haven't applied for any jobs. We hadn't even looked. Copenhagen, I'm surprised, sacked their manager after getting second. AGF's a good job opportunity, but Copenhagen is a massive opportunity. Probably traditionally the biggest, certainly if not one of, in the country. A side with proven European pedigree that would expect to be right at the top of their game. And right at the top of this nation. If we're looking at rebuilding Scandinavia, Copenhagen might be the side we can take to a European trophy. The issue is, if we then go, do we ruin the rebuild with Viborg? Are we going to enjoy it as much? I'm so torn on this and I'm going to need your help. And I know there's a couple in the comments that are going to be biased because they're Copenhagen fans, but what do I do? If we get to the job offer, what do I do? There's some wonderful young players at this club. It is a slightly ageing squad, but there's great players below it. And I know there's potential there. I'm so torn more than anything, which is why we've come back at this point. So I'm going to attend both interviews for experience, but Copenhagen is the only one I'm really considering. So, do you know what? In fact, if we look at AGF, do we want to consider their offer? Because they've got a pretty average squad. It's a fairly small squad as well. And if we look at their facilities, they are very good, actually. We're going to go to both job offers. I'm going to need your help in the comments. Let me know what you would do, and let's see if we get an offer after this. I'd imagine we'll get one at least, because we haven't even applied. So let's go to the AGF one first. We're going to attend the interview. It's the sort of the warm-up interview for me. Why have we worked with a small selection of teams so far in your career? We've shown loyalty. That's a good thing. Why do we want to move on? I didn't particularly. You came and approached me. Let's take the positive momentum. I can handle the pressure. Don't worry about that. I mean, I've won titles with teams in the second tier and then I've overachieved in the top tier. I've won the Swedish top division in the first season promoted. There'll be no problems with the dressing room atmosphere. Media controversies. When have we struggled to get the support of our players? I don't really see that. Stig Bjornaby, is that the former Blackburn fullback? It is. I remember him from my first ever LMA managers. What a player he was. Bjornaby as director of football. That is a man I am very happy to work with. I don't need to make changes. I'm not going to be in charge of that. It's a very exciting plan. They want to finish top half. I think that's a fair target to aim for. Transfer budget of 350 grand. I probably could work with a slightly smaller sum. And a wage budget of 90 grand. This is a very different level of club, isn't it? Do we need to do anything else? No, I'm very good, thank you. That is an enlightening discussion. I wouldn't be surprised if we get offered that job. But the one I really want to consider is this one. For me, as I look in my head at the moment, Copenhagen and Viborg are fighting it out for top spot in terms of choice, and AGF would be in third place. Let's see what the Copenhagen interview offers. So first of all, we're glad you've given us a chance to get to business. I've shown loyalty to every club and want to take my momentum. Those things never change for me. We keep getting asked about media controversies. Where is this nonsense coming from? I'll always back myself to succeed. That's a promise there. I'll forge a strong bond with the supporters, don't you worry about that. And I would be here for the long term. Let's have a look at Director of Football Peter Christensen. Very solid. Not quite as good as Bjornaby personality-wise, but everything else is fine. We don't need any changes to the staff budget. They want to, end of current season, win the league and win the domestic cup and reach the second knockout round of the Europa Conference. They're big expectations. It's got to be said. So we're expected to dominate the country. Even though Bromby have won 3 of the last 4 titles, or 3 of the last 5 for sure. It looks like an exciting future. I look forward to taking the challenge of guiding you to the title. Transfer budget of 14 million. Wow. That is a very different level. I could do with a slightly smaller sum than that. 500 grand the wage budget. It's a different stratosphere of team. Viborg to Copenhagen is mad. So now, this is basically the problem I've got to weigh up. If we go to Copenhagen, if they offer us the job that is, we would dominate domestically. But the problem is, we would then have to fight on the European front. Whereas here, we've got a lot of work to do domestically as well. Which one are you more excited to see? I kind of, after that, more want to stay at Viborg because I feel Copenhagen will be a bit too easy. But it looks like we're going to get offered the job, and that is going to leave us with one hell of a decision to make. And I didn't expect it to come. So before, we were 15-1 to get the Copenhagen job. Now we're 6-1. If we go and have a look, are we the favourite in the job centre? We are not. Niko Kovac is the favourite. So we shouldn't really be getting the job above him. He was the man we took over from at Man United in the head coach, wasn't he? That's an interesting turn of events. Been at Sevilla, been at Monaco, been at Bayern. If we get offered the job above him, that is a very, very bold statement from Copenhagen. But what should we do? Get your comments in down below, and we're going to skip ahead and see if we get offered the job. You know when you're sort of half tempting yourself to do something, and then there's an action that just pulls you back in? Look at this. Daniel Harbo has agreed to join on a free from Copenhagen at the end of his contract. And if we look at him, he is the sort of player who can make a real difference to this team. I'm looking at this and I can't find a good reason to leave Viborg. I'm absolutely loving the challenge of it. It probably adds a year or two to the challenge as we try to win both the domestic league and then compete in Europe. And if we do this, we've then taken away one of Copenhagen's best youngsters for the long term. So do I make the decision to delay it, which I can't actually? I'm going to have to accept it. Look, we're managing Viborg. We've got to do the right thing for them. We're accepting it. Daniel Harbo's coming in, but I still haven't heard any news. We're going to have a big decision to make, and I hope you guys are going to make it easy. But at the moment, if I'm being honest, I'm edging towards staying. You know what? I am secretly both delighted and relieved at this moment because I was weighing the decision in my head. I still wasn't completely sure, and I'm sure in the comments some of you may have said something by now, but we have had the news back that Copenhagen have decided that we were unsuccessful in our interview, despite the fact they offered it to us and we didn't apply for the role. They've chosen Troels Beck. Was that the Nordsjælland manager? It was. So finally our bogey side have lost the manager. Might make playing Copenhagen a problem next year though. I mean, we already lost to them 4-1 last night in a friendly, despite having the better expected goals. But we haven't got Harbo yet, which is probably where the difference comes. But that's it. We haven't got the decision to make. Copenhagen have rejected us. I will not be leaving Viborg for AGF. However, there is some bad news, which does leave us with a little more work to do. Because if we go down a little, our other target, Marius Elvius, has rejected us to go to Beerschot in the Belgium League, and he's getting a bigger wage there and probably a better squad role. So I've got no problem with what he's decided to do there. He said it's a very straightforward decision. That's fair enough. No problem at all. Our collective bonuses will be set for the season in the league, and we now, thankfully, don't have to make a decision. What we do have, though, is 11 days to go to the season, a stronger squad than we had before. I've got a bit of a bizarre situation at the moment where you can see we've got a transfer budget of 278,000 remaining, a wage budget of nearly £6,000 a week. Then I went to sign Harbo and they said you'll need to spend 170 grand. They've now turned it up to 325, which we don't have enough for. But when we agreed the deal, I looked straight after. It said 170 grand, you don't have enough funds. I mean, even that we do have enough funds for, because I could just flip the wages over. What I'm hoping is, as we get towards the end of the transfer window, they will change their tune a bit on that. Because if not, we might have to find a loanee to take us through till Christmas. Can't imagine he's going to play much there anyway. If we go through to the squad though, it is a massive coup for us. We've got the Magnus Karstrup situation which needs to be sorted. He's not even wanted now. Aside from that, we're just the one midfielder short, and it's whether it becomes the man himself, Daniel Harbo, or whether we have to go and find somebody else. So we're going to have a look at all of the old targets as well, the likes of Justin Lundvik, but most of them, they've moved on now. They're having good careers elsewhere. The only other one that was available was Wiliti Yanusa, and I think unfortunately his wage demands will be too much as well. He's now a fringe player. Could we get him on loan perhaps? Could be a solution for us in the short term. Not for £6,000 a week, we can't. We're not pushing it out that far. We have got to look after finances, and I guess the best thing you can say for me this summer, whether we have immediate success next year or not, the signings we've made, that's Schroeder, that's Harbo coming in later, and Sampaio already, none of those will make this club a loss. We'll cover the transfer fee for Sampaio and the wages that we've paid to all of them, and more when we choose to sell these players in the future. It's just what else happens in the remaining 11 days, because we are going to be back not long from now at all. Our first 2 games of the season are Midtjylland and Copenhagen. My word, is that a tough start. And look at the spell again. Our first 4 games are against Midtjylland, Copenhagen, Randers and AGF. That is absolute insanity. A very tough draw. Let's see how we get on. We've got Lyngby who have come up later in the month, and Esbjerg as well. So it's going to be another one of those seasons. 3 or 4 defeats in a row, then 3 or 4 wins. But I feel we're slightly better prepared. We've just got to get Harbo or someone else in for the season, and then we can worry about the long term a bit later down the line. But if you did enjoy this episode, weighing up a big decision, and what did you say down in the comments? I'll be interested to get your thoughts. Thankfully, we didn't have to make the decision in the end, but if you're looking forward to the season and finding out how we get on and whether the Nordsjælland manager will get one over on us with Copenhagen, then please do subscribe down below and turn that notification bell on. We'll be back on Saturday for the first day of the season of this one. Don't forget, tonight we're live on Twitch watching West Ham v Viborg. Come and join me over there for the chat. There's also all the other key links up in the eye above and down in the description below. And I'll put the top 3 playlist above my head now. I hope you enjoyed that in the meantime, and I'll see you back here on Saturday for 2 very tough games.